So Caitlin Clark has the worst whistle in the WNBA. It is as simple as that. She has what I fully believe is the worst whistle in the league. Like, there are rules that are not followed when it's Caitlin Clark, and people don't even care. They don't even care. First of all, this is one of the worst. This is one of the worst calls I've seen in a long time. And it's not the fact that this was called. Like, referees can make wrong calls. It's the fact that the referees waited until the Fever got the defensive rebound off this, called a pushing foul when Caitlin Clark does not make contact with Sonia Citron here. Like, and you might be saying she grabbed the jersey, but I'm going to slow this down. Caitlin Clark does not make contact with Sonia Citron. Do you want to know what the only part of contact is that Caitlin stops and Citron basically sits back on Kate, tries to stops on a dime and stops going to Caitlin. Is the tiniest bit of the most incidental of incidental contacts. And the referee called a late whistle. They called a late whistle, which is the worst part about this. This was Caitlin's third foul. They called a late whistle on this, no challenge. Like, they waited until Sonia missed the layup. There's still no call at this stage, by the way. Like, the layup is missed. There is no call. There is no call. There is no call. And then the ball lands in the Fever player's hands and they're about to go. And all of a sudden then, yeah. It's suddenly this is a real whistle. This is a real whistle. And we're going to go and call Caitlin for her third foul on a complete phantom foul. Someone said the foul was called in the rebound, not the shot. Someone just said, like, this is the worst thing here. Is like, people are there like, oh yeah, she's grabbing the jersey. She actually isn't. She just has her hand like this. The angle shows it. You could see by just the way the jersey moves. If you want to say, okay, Caitlin blocked her, that's not what the ref called. If you want to say here that the contact here is Caitlin's thigh to Sonia Citron's, yeah, but that's not what the ref's called. Said Caitlin did not grab the jersey there. No matter what way you look at it, she didn't grab the jersey. Not only that, is you see this right here. See this foul right here. She just gets cleaned out of it in the air. Like, Caitlin Clark gets taken out of it in the air. So she's in the air shooting the ball and just gets hip checked. So Cass Prosper is so much in Caitlin Clark's landing zone that Caitlin lands on her legs while she gets shoulder barged in the air onto the ground. Like, this is like one of these late challenges you see in rugby. When someone kicks the ball in rugby and then somebody takes them out. Like, this is a yellow card in rugby. Maybe even a red card in rugby. In rugby, this is a yellow or red card. The referee said it's not a landing space foul because, her foot didn't go under Caitlin. Sorry, it wasn't even that. It was, even though she was in the landing space, but she was so in the landing space that she also cleaned Caitlin out of the air with her body that it was not a landing zone foul. It is mental how bad her whistle is. Caitlin Clark, this was the first shooting foul Caitlin Clark drew in 14 quarters of basketball. In 14 quarters of basketball. Like, it's one of those things where, again, in 14 quarters of basketball, a player who regularly gets hit did not get a shooting, or had one shooting foul called for her. And that one shooting foul, she had to celebrate. She had to celebrate. She went and celebrated the one shooting foul she got in 14 quarters of basketball before this. And yet there were think pieces about it. She has the worst whistle. And there wasn't too many. The first two fouls were fouls. I don't really care. The second one was a bit soft on the post-up. But I'm going to be honest. Like, Caitlin Clark's whistle is horrendous. And everyone's going, oh, she has a great whistle because refs don't tee her up. Like, I'm sorry, can you imagine being the referee? Could you imagine, like, obviously referees at the end of the game, like, they have to talk about, like, everything. Like, they absolutely go about into these games and they talk about certain calls at the end of it. But, like, I'm sorry, if you are the referee that compounds a bad call with teeing up the biggest star on the floor in every night she plays, doesn't matter when it is, every single night. What you call it? Every single night She's the biggest star on the floor. If you end up getting rid of the biggest star out of a game because you decided to make it about you and calling a bad call and compounding it, and it's not something that Caitlin Clark it's right to constantly complain to the refs, but like complaining doesn't help anybody, including her. But like most of the time she's complaining because of inconsistent refereeing. And some of the times people are like, oh yeah, like she's having to flail back, but it's like every time someone flails back on her, it's a foul. So it's like there is a problem. There absolutely is a problem with it. And Caitlin Clark there's so many videos of Caitlin Clark getting taken out of it in the air and it not even being called a foul. Like the fact that wasn't given as a flagrant one is, for me, one of the most embarrassing calls. Like, it is, first of all, taking someone out in the air. If it was anywhere else on the floor, by the way, if Caitlin Clark was shooting a layup, if Caitlin Clark was shooting a floater and somebody took her out of the air like that, it's a flagrant one. If she was shooting a floater, it's a flagrant one. If you landed like that on somebody where you're so close to them that they don't land on your foot, they land on your leg, it's a flagrant one. There were about 3 different things that Cass Prosper did to Caitlin Clark on this play that were flagrant ones. And the referee said, nah, we're going common foul. We're going common foul. It's really bad. And it was like, never forget, the referees reviewed the Kennedy Carter hip check and said common foul. They reviewed the Kennedy Carter hip check and said, this is a common foul. This is not a flagrant. And then they reviewed it and said, we're going to upgrade the flagrant one. The referees, do you know that Caitlin Clark got a worse punishment? Because again, I'm pretty sure techs count as more towards getting techs count for suspension. Caitlin Clark got a tougher punishment for getting poked in the eye, walking off holding her eye, and then getting hip checked to the ground, or getting barged to the ground by Marina Mabry while holding her eye after being eye poked, than Marina Mabry got. Marina Mabry's flagrant eventually got upgraded to a flagrant 2. No suspension, nothing. Kennedy Carter shouted, "You B word," or something else other than you, but it sounded like that, definitely called it a B word when she wasn't looking and hip checked her. Like, and blindsided. Like, this is everything when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Like, she is refereed worse. And the worst part is that it wasn't as bad against New York. I will say, like, her fouls against New York, I'll say her fouls against New York, the last 2 were definitely fouls. But, like, the others were so soft. The first 3 were so soft. And against Portland, where I think it was their first game, she picked up 5 fouls. I'm pretty 4 of them were, like, legitimate phantom fouls. Like, Caitlin Clark is picking up multiple phantom fouls a game. As in, she doesn't even make contact, and they're calling a foul for her. But yet, if you saw yesterday, Anya Were had 2 hands on Caitlin Clark at all times. They guarded Caitlin Clark. Anya Were had her hand fully extended on Caitlin Clark's body for the entire game. Like, they hand-checked Caitlin Clark like it was 1980s NBA. It's mad. She is just refereed differently. She is just completely refereed differently than anyone else. And it is getting ridiculous now. It's getting ridiculous that freedom of movement. I'm watching these games and everyone's like, oh yeah, they're calling ticky-tack fouls. But I'm like, Caitlin Clark has to be cleaned out of the air to get a common foul. And I'd say the referees were probably hesitant to even call a common foul in that scenario. Because we've seen it plenty of times where Caitlin Clark has been landing zone fouled and it's not even given as a common foul. So yeah, that's pretty much it, lads. Her whistle is garbage. I'll see you guys.